School is in, and yes, we're going to be talking about psychological identity and identity crisis. Psychological identity and identity crisis by M. Farooq Radwan, MSc, Behavior and Personality Development. The loss of the psychological identity loss. Brad is a very happy and successful person. He earns a big salary, his wife loves him, and he has accomplished most of what he wanted to achieve in life. Everything in Brad's life was perfect, and this was reflected in the way he walks, talks, and in his confident attitude. One day, while he was happily driving back his way to home, he received a phone call from his wife who told him, "Brad, I don't want you in my life anymore. I know that this is a surprise for you, but it's my final decision." Brad's wife hung up and he suddenly felt worthless. He felt that all of his confidence and happiness had been lost. Ever since that day, Brad became unhappy, desperate, and a bad-tempered person. What happened to Brad? What happened to his confident and strong character? What happened is that his wife called His wife's call made him lose his psychological identity. What is psychological identity? Identity or psychological identity is your capacity for self-reflection and awareness. People usually acquire their identities through the tasks they do and the objects they identify themselves with. For example, if you ask someone, "Who are you?" and he replied saying, "I'm a restaurant chef," then this person identifies himself with his job and thinks of himself as the chef instead of Robin or Tom. Here are some examples of people identifying with other objects or other people in life. Identify with a person. Children who try to imitate their parents and dress like them are doing so because they are tempted to identify with their parents. Identifying with a job. A person who proudly speaks of his profession and answers the question of "Who are you?" with his job title is a person who is identifying himself with his job. Identifying with an object. A person who proudly drives his car, big car, may be identifying with his car. He is showing off just to show that he is rich, but because he thinks of himself as the expensive car owner. This is usually the same person whom you will find him walking with his head down when he suffers from financial crisis that forces him to replace his car with a smaller one. This happens because he identified himself with his car, and so when the car was gone, he found himself with no psychological identity. He used to be the expensive car owner. Now he is nothing. Brad's psychological identity. Now let's get back to Brad. Brad identified himself as the successful person who have a great career and a loving wife. If you ask Brad, "Who are you?" he might have replied saying, "I am Brad, the successful engineer." So what was Brad's problem and why did his self-confidence desert him? Brad's problem was that he identified with a mortal object, namely success. So as soon as the object was lost, he lost his psychological identity and felt worthless. Psychological identity crisis. Identity crisis is a psychological term that describes someone who's in the constant state of searching for his identity. So identity crisis doesn't refer to real crisis, but it just describes a normal stage of personality development. Now, the real problem happens when the person fails to find a suitable identity and he ends up with a fragile one. As soon as the person who didn't find the right psychological identity faces a big life challenge, he will usually lose his fragile identity and ends up searching for a new one. Haven't you ever met a person who always seems to be trying new roles over and over without adhering to any of them? This is usually the behavior of a person who is suffering from an identity crisis. Identity crisis can give a powerful blow to your self-confidence and your self-image. And that's why building a solid identity is something that can make you more confident and more solid when you face life challenges. Some people even go a step further and identify themselves with their relationship partners to the extent that they fail to get over them just because of the fear of losing their identity. In book, How to Get Over Anyone in a Few Days, I describe how you can get over this problem by announcing the breakup as soon as it happens so that you help yourself develop the new identity quickly. How to avoid a psychological identity crisis? As you saw in Brad's story, identifying with a mortal object. In his success in professional and family life resulted in losing his identity when he lost that object. Brad should have identified himself with his skills and abilities instead of identifying himself with his achievements, because even if he lost his achievements, his abilities and skills won't go. After all, it's his abilities and skills that make him succeed, and by identifying with them, he will be able to better protect his self-worth. If Brad identified himself as a persistent, intelligent, and strong person, he wouldn't have faced an identity crisis at all. One of the very good things that you could do to identify yourself with God. Who are you, sir? I am God's servant. Can anybody lose this identity? No. It's the most solid identity that someone can ever acquire because in this case, the person is identifying himself with an immortal, God himself. People who identify themselves with God tend to feel more worthy because they have the belief that if they were not that important, then God would not have created them. Religion and identity. What's so bad is that some people get involved into new things just because they're trying to find an identity. For instance, some people try to get into religion just to identify themselves as religious people or as preachers. Of course, I am in no position to say whether God wants those people or not, but I can say is that the people who learned about religion because they found solid facts for creation such as these ones are much better than those who got into a religion such because they want an identity, identifying with objects. Some people go further and identify themselves with precious objects and even places. For example, when someone creates a group on Facebook, I love Starbucks, then make sure that he's trying to identify with that place because it makes him feel more worthy. This doesn't mean that all people who join online groups want to seek an identity, but of course some of them did it for that reason. Final words about psychological identity. The more you make your psychological identity dependent on your job, your wealth, your friends' love, or any external object, the more likely you will lose this identity when you lose that external object. On the other hand, the more you make your identity dependent on a constant, the less likely you're going to suffer from a psychological identity crisis. To know myself is not a complicated medical website, nor it's a boring online encyclopedia, but it's a place where you'll find simple, to the point, and effective information that is presented in a simple and obvious way. If you think that this is some kind of marketing hype, then see what other visitors say about To Know Myself. The book, How to Make Someone Fall in Love with You, was released by ToKnowMyself.com. The book will dramatically increase your chance of letting someone fall in love with you. Want to know more? How to discover my abilities in order to identify with them. How to have a strong personality. I don't believe in God, so I can't identify with him. How do I get over anyone in a few days? Book. How to make anyone fall in love with me fast? Book. How to end depression instantly? Book. How to control people's minds? It's a course. And how to develop rock solid self-confidence fast? It's a course. So get your free book. Name and email is needed. Download now and get the lie detection free ebook on this ToKnowMyself.com. And that is our EDU for our lives. Yes, so when we come back, quote for the day on Twitter, State Powers versus Money Power by Orrin Woodward, and some excellent quotes by Warren Buffett. So stay tuned.
You say that I'm childish.
Yep.
Bushwick Bill even said I'm the wildest.
He said that.
Real crazy with the freestyle. I know, I haven't did it in a while.
Yeah.
Now I wanna blow some mind. X-Men, I'm really one of a kind. Seems like hip-hop's falling off.
For real.
Or a lot of rappers now getting soft. You hate that I'm saying facts?
Real facts.
Then diss me in your mumble rap.
Sorry, rappers.
Hope this is not a riddle.
Nope.
No apologies with one finger in the middle. Yes. Hip-hop. We're hip-hop. Hip-hop. You know that. Hip-hop. We're hip-hop. We're hip-hop. Hip-hop. Yes. Made for rap. Hip-hop. Hip-hop. Yes. Yes. In this hop, baby. Let me get back on top. Still an assassin on the black mark. I spit flame like an automatic.
Yeah,
Wait. I said that wrong. Stop it.
What happened?
Now if I spit like I'm throwing fire, that means I am a dragon. Smoking like coal, see my view.
See it.
What do you call it? A family barbecue. Everyone gather around. Here's another one I'm going to clown.
Man.
Follow me, Pennywise, the wrong thing. I'm more like Fred. I wanna get in your dreams.